Joining us now, my old colleague from the House, Pete Hoekstra, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Pete, before we get into some of these other topics, your take on this young man and his flippant response on Fox News last night.
Well, the Obama administration clearly is starting to unravel on the whole issue of Benghazi. I think earlier in the day or the day before, Jay Carney came out and said, this email that talks about a video and make sure that this is a discussion about the video, and not a failed foreign policy, that wasn't referring to Benghazi. It was like 2 or 3 days after Benghazi. And then allowing this guy to be on TV with Bret Baier last night is unbelievable. I mean, this guy has no credibility. He was the spokesperson for the National Security Council, and it's like, hey, dude, it shows that what you and I and many others have believed for quite some time. This is amateur hour when it comes to foreign policy.
Pete, we have that situation with a young staffer. And look, let's face it, in Washington, young people staff up to serve on congressional committees, etc. But the flippancy of this young man and his outlook on life even today, the casual nature of his statements, very, very disturbing. Let's go back, let's return, metaphorically speaking, to our old office, if you will, on the Hill. We're getting news, 2 committee updates today, Pete. We're getting news now, a variety of websites reporting that, yes, indeed, Speaker Boehner is going to form a select committee on Benghazi. It appears that Congressman Trey Gowdy will chair this, and of course, the Oversight Committee, chaired by Darrell Issa, has subpoenaed Secretary of State Kerry to testify on Benghazi. What do you make of these 2 developments in terms of these 2 committee items?
Well, the first thing is Republicans didn't have a very good day on Capitol Hill yesterday. The Darrell Issa, the Oversight Committee, brought in a general who said, hey, I was there. I thought we could have done more. We should have done more, and we didn't do it in regards to sending help to Benghazi. And even as that hearing was going on, another committee was sending out a statement questioning the integrity of the general that was testifying in front of the Oversight Committee. And so it was like, excuse me, guys, do you know what you're doing? Are you coordinating at all? And so I think what happened this week, Boehner saw that having 5 committees in charge of oversight of what happened in Benghazi meant that no one was in charge. And that clearly came out this week. They were stepping all over each other's message. The big news this week with the email didn't come from 5 committees that have been investigating Benghazi for a year and a half. It came from Judicial Watch with a Freedom of Information Act request. And so I think it shows 2 things. The 5 committees weren't getting things done. They were stepping on their message, and they were being overshadowed by, people from outside of Congress, and Congress wasn't taking the lead. And so finally, and I say finally because I think this should have happened a long time ago, and I hope it does happen. I hope it's a reality. Speaker Boehner recognized it wasn't working, and he needs a special committee now to get this done in the next 6 to 8 months. Is going to be very, very tough and difficult, but at least they're going in the right direction.
And there's one internal matter politically in the House that we should note. The fact is, many grassroots conservative groups have been talking about Trey Gowdy as a replacement for John Boehner as Speaker. So you have a situation where the Speaker may be shoring up his right flank, so to speak, by naming Gowdy as the chairman of this select committee. Let's move our focus now, Pete, from Capitol Hill back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The Tommy Vietor episode last night, just the latest in an episode of, well, a litany of shame, or at the very least, duplicity. We have got for you right now the big whoppers from President Obama on a variety of subjects in a variety of contexts. Let's take a listen to them right now.
You know, I respect the fact that Senator Clinton and President Clinton attempted in '93 to get health care reform passed. But I do think that they did it in the wrong way, because it was behind closed doors and we did not enlist the American people in the process.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls.
I will close Guantanamo. I will restore habeas corpus.
I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war.
So that's just a cross-section over the years of the separation between the president or the candidate's comments and the reality we have seen from an Obama administration. Pete, back when we were growing up, they said of Lyndon Johnson there was a, quote, credibility gap. How would you describe Mr. Obama's relationship with the truth?
Well, I think at this point in time, JD, it's becoming very, very clear. The president has a credibility gap with Congress. He has a credibility gap with the American people. I mean, those are pretty powerful statements, and they're starting to define his presidency. You can keep your insurance. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. The American government is not keeping a database on American phone calls. Those are big issues with the American people right now, and they both turned out to be totally inaccurate. We can call them inaccurate. Others can call them lies, whatever. But the American people now have major questions about this president and his credibility when he's talking to them about a major issue. And I think this is why he's getting into this trouble on Benghazi. People are having real serious concerns, part because of the substance and part because of the president's track record with what the White House is saying today.
Pete Hoekstra, I need your educated assessment on this. Some might call it an intelligence operation as we attempt to divine the outlook of the dominant media culture. Yes, we saw ABC's Jonathan Karl put Jay Carney through the ringer a couple of days ago. But when it comes to the revelations on Benghazi yesterday, the alphabet networks, with the exception of one of them with a 40-second reader, ignored all the developments about Benghazi. In the final analysis, is the mainstream media going to have to pick up this story because it's just too huge to ignore? Or will they continue to carry water and turn a deaf ear to what is transpiring in terms of Benghazi and this continued debacle? And does this new select committee ensure that the dominant media culture will have no choice but to cover Benghazi?
Well, they're going to have to start covering. And remember how they covered almost 24/7 the missing plane, the Malaysian plane, and that was a serious issue and deserved coverage. But so does Benghazi. Benghazi is about a failed foreign policy. It is about 4 dead Americans. And it may now, and sometimes what you'll find is originally what they were trying to do is cover up the fact and divert attention from a failed foreign policy. But now you'll find out that the stuff that they did, perhaps the cover-up actually was worse than the fact. I mean, the president might have been just a whole lot better off saying initially, man, we just totally misread the situation in Benghazi. Our ambassador should not have been there. We made some real mistakes, and this is a terrible time and a terrible hour for the American people and for us as a nation and for the families of those people who died. And we're very sad about what happened. Let's learn from it. Let's move on. They didn't. The cover-up may be worse than what the fact that they were trying to hide, And the end result, the alphabet networks are going to have to cover this.
Pete Hoekstra, we appreciate it. We note again for the record, we're not the media, we're Newsmax. We always appreciate your intelligence briefs. We'll talk to you again in the not too distant future. Please stay tuned, there's more to come.